You wake up, and before your feet even touch the ground, your mind is already racing. Worry, pressure, expectations, noise. It feels like life is constantly pulling you in 1,000 directions, and somehow, peace always feels just out of reach. But what if the problem isn't your life? What if the problem is how you see it? Because thousands of years ago, a group of thinkers discovered something powerful. Peace is not found in changing the world. Peace is found in mastering yourself. And today, you're about to learn 4 Stoic rules that can completely change how you experience life, every single day. Not theory, not motivation, but principles that, if you truly apply them, will make you calmer, stronger, and emotionally untouchable. Let's begin. Rule 1: Control what you can. Let go of what you can't. You wake up in the morning, and before anything even happens, your mind is already busy. Thinking about what could go wrong. Thinking about what people said yesterday. Thinking about what might happen tomorrow. And without realizing it, your peace is already gone. Not because something bad happened, but because your mind has left the present moment and started trying to control everything. This is where most people lose their peace. Not in reality, but in their attempt to control reality. You want people to understand you. You want things to go according to your plan. You want life to move faster or slower, depending on how you feel. You want certainty. You want guarantees. You want control. But here is the uncomfortable truth. You were never in control of most things to begin with. And the earlier you accept this, the earlier you become free. Because there is a silent war happening inside you every single day. A war between what you want to happen and what is actually happening. And the more you resist reality, the more you suffer. Think about it deeply. How many times have you been upset because someone didn't behave the way you expected? How many times have you been frustrated because something didn't go according to your plan? How many times have you felt anxious trying to predict the future or replay the past? That is not life hurting you. That is your attachment to control hurting you. Because the truth is simple. You are trying to control things that were never yours to control. You cannot control how people think. You cannot control how people feel. You cannot control how people treat you. You cannot control outcomes. You cannot control timing. You cannot control everything that happens in your life. And yet, that's exactly what most people spend their energy trying to do. And that's why they are always tired, always frustrated, always restless. Because they are fighting a battle they can never win. But Stoicism offers you a different path. A simpler path. A calmer path. It teaches you to divide your life into 2 clear categories. What is within your control? And what is outside your control? And once you understand this, everything begins to change. Because suddenly, life becomes less overwhelming. You stop trying to manage everything. And you start focusing only on what truly matters. So what is actually within your control? Your thoughts, your actions, your decisions, your effort, your discipline, your attitude. That's it. That is your entire domain. Small, but powerful. Because while you cannot control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond. Someone disrespects you. You control whether you react with anger or composure. Things don't go your way. You control whether you break down or stay focused. Life becomes difficult. You control whether you give up or keep moving. That is your power. and it is more than enough. But most people ignore this power because they are too busy chasing control over things they don't own. They are obsessed with outcomes, obsessed with validation, obsessed with how others perceive them. And in that obsession, they lose themselves. They lose their peace. Because peace is not found in controlling everything. Peace is found in letting go of what was never yours. Imagine carrying a heavy load every single day. A load filled with other people's opinions, uncertain outcomes, future worries, past regrets. And then one day, someone tells you, "You don't have to carry this anymore." Would you not feel relief? That's exactly what this rule offers you. Relief, freedom, clarity. But here's the part most people struggle with. Letting go feels uncomfortable because control gives the illusion of safety. It makes you feel like if you think hard enough, worry enough, plan enough, you can somehow prevent bad things from happening. But that is an illusion. Worry does not prevent problems. It only steals your peace before they even arrive. And even when they do arrive, you will still have to deal with them in the present moment. So why suffer twice? Why suffer in your imagination, and then suffer again in reality? This is why the Stoics trained themselves to let go. Not because they didn't care about life, but because they understood how life works. They understood that control is limited. And peace comes from accepting that limit. From saying, "I will do my best with what I can control, and I will accept whatever happens with strength." That mindset changes everything. Because now, you are no longer fragile. You are no longer easily shaken. You are grounded, centered, calm. You begin to move through life differently. You stop reacting to everything. You stop taking everything personally. You stop trying to force things that are not meant to be forced. Instead, you act where you have power, and you release where you don't. And this creates a kind of peace that most people never experience. A quiet confidence, a steady mind, an inner calm that is not easily disturbed. Because your peace is no longer tied to outcomes. It is tied to your actions, to your mindset, to your ability to remain composed no matter what happens. And that is true power. So from today, start practicing this. When something happens, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is yes, act on it. If the answer is no, release it. Don't overthink it. Don't fight it. Don't carry it. Just let it go. Because every time you hold on to something you cannot control, you are choosing stress. And every time you let go, you are choosing peace. It won't be easy at first. Your mind will resist. You will still find yourself worrying, overthinking, trying to control things. But with time, with awareness, with practice, it becomes natural. And one day, you will notice something powerful. Things that used to disturb you no longer have power over you. Situations that used to stress you no longer shake you. People who used to get under your skin no longer control your emotions. And in that moment, you will realize something has changed. Not your life, but you. And that is the real goal. Because a peaceful life is not built by controlling the world. It is built by mastering yourself within it. Rule 2: expect nothing. Appreciate everything. You don't lose your peace because life is hard. You lose your peace because life doesn't meet your expectations. Sit with that for a moment. Because most people don't realize this. They think they are stressed because of what is happening. But in reality, they are stressed because of what they thought should happen. You expected things to go a certain way. You expected people to behave a certain way. You expected life to reward you faster. And when those expectations are not met, something inside you breaks. Frustration begins. Disappointment grows. And slowly, peace disappears. This is how most people live. Constantly expecting. Constantly hoping. Constantly attaching their happiness to outcomes they cannot control. And without knowing it, they are setting themselves up for suffering. Because expectations are silent agreements you make with life, without life ever agreeing back. You expect loyalty. You expect respect. You expect consistency. You expect effort to be noticed. You expect people to understand you without explanation. You expect life to be fair. But life does not operate based on your expectations. And people do not always act based on your standards. So every time reality doesn't match the picture in your mind, you suffer. Not because reality is wrong, but because your expectations were too rigid. This is where Stoicism shifts your entire perspective. Instead of expecting everything, it teaches you to expect nothing. Not in a negative way. Not in a hopeless way. But in a freeing way. Because when you expect nothing, you stop being constantly disappointed. You stop placing emotional demands on people. You stop assuming outcomes. You stop building imaginary scenarios in your mind. And something powerful happens. You begin to experience life as it is, not as you wish it to be. And that alone brings peace. Think about it. If you do something kind for someone, and you expect nothing in return, you feel light. But if you expect appreciation, recognition, or loyalty, and you don't get it, you feel hurt. Same action, different expectation, different outcome. This is how powerful expectations are. They don't just shape your experience. They control your emotions. That's why the Stoics chose a different path. They detached from expectation and anchored themselves in appreciation. Because appreciation changes everything. When you stop focusing on what is missing and start focusing on what is present, your entire mindset shifts. Instead of saying, "This is not enough," you begin to say, "This is something." And that small shift creates peace. You wake up in the morning, and instead of complaining about what you don't have, you appreciate the fact that you woke up. You eat a simple meal, and instead of wishing it was better, you appreciate that you have something to eat. You experience a quiet moment, and instead of chasing noise, you appreciate the calm. This is not weakness. This is awareness. Because most people are so focused on what they lack that they completely ignore what they already have. They are chasing the next level while being blind to their current blessings. And in that blindness, they remain restless, always wanting more, never feeling satisfied, never at peace. But appreciation grounds you. It brings you back to reality. It reminds you that life is happening now, not in the future you are chasing. And the more you appreciate what you have, the less desperate you become for what you don't. This is where real peace begins. Not when you get everything you want, but when you stop needing everything to be perfect. And understand this clearly. Letting go of expectations does not mean you stop having goals. It does not mean you stop working hard. It does not mean you settle for less. It simply means you detach your emotional stability from the outcome. You still act. You still strive. You still build. But you are no longer controlled by results. You are no longer broken by delays. You are no longer frustrated by things not going your way. Because your peace is not dependent on success. It is rooted in perspective. And that is powerful. Because now, you can work hard without anxiety. You can give without expecting. You can love without controlling. You can live without constantly feeling like something is missing. That is freedom. That is peace. But let's be honest. This is not easy. Your mind has been trained to expect, trained to compare, trained to measure your life against others. You see someone doing better, and you feel like you are behind. You see someone getting recognition, and you feel overlooked. You see someone winning, and you start questioning your own journey. And without realizing it, your expectations grow even stronger. I should be there by now. I deserve more than this. This is not enough. And just like that, peace disappears again. This is why you must train your mind, daily, intentionally, to return to appreciation. Not once in a while. Not when things are going well. But especially when they are not. Because appreciation is not just a reaction to good moments. It is a discipline during difficult ones. When things are not going your way. That is when appreciation matters the most. Because it keeps you grounded. It keeps you calm. It keeps you focused. Instead of falling into frustration, you remind yourself, I may not have everything I want, but I have something. I may not be where I want to be, but I am not where I used to be. I may not have control over everything, but I still have control over myself. And that mindset protects your peace. It stabilizes you. It gives you emotional strength. Because now, you are not easily shaken by life's ups and downs. You are steady, balanced, in control. And over time, you begin to notice a shift. You become less reactive, less desperate, less dependent on external validation. You stop chasing approval. You stop needing constant recognition. You stop tying your worth to outcomes. And in that space, you find peace. A quiet, stable, grounded kind of peace. Not loud, not dramatic, but real and lasting. So from today, start practicing this. Do your best in everything you do, but expect nothing in return. Give your effort, but release the outcome. Treat people well, but don't demand anything back. And at the same time, train yourself to appreciate what is already in your life. The small things, the unnoticed things, the things you've been taking for granted. Because the truth is, the life you are praying for is the life someone else is already grateful for. Never forget that. And when you truly understand it, you stop chasing peace, and you start living in it. Rule 3. Train your mind to stay calm in chaos. Life will not always be quiet. It will not always be smooth. It will not always go according to your plans. There will be days when everything feels like it's falling apart. Days when people misunderstand you. Days when your efforts don't pay off. Days when pressure comes from every direction. And in those moments, you will be tested. Not your strength. Not your intelligence. but your mind. Because when chaos shows up, who you truly are is revealed. Most people like to believe they are calm. They believe they are patient. They believe they are in control of themselves. But that belief only exists when life is easy. The real test comes when things go wrong. When something unexpected happens. When emotions rise. When pressure builds. That's when the truth comes out. And for most people, that truth is uncomfortable. Because instead of staying calm, they react. They panic. They lose control. They say things they regret. They make decisions based on emotion instead of logic. And afterward, they wonder why everything feels worse. But here's what you need to understand. Chaos is not the problem. Your reaction to chaos is the problem. Because chaos is part of life. It is unavoidable. No matter how organized you are, no matter how careful you are, no matter how much you plan, things will still go wrong. People will still disappoint you. Situations will still change without warning. That is reality. And if your peace depends on everything going right, you will never have peace. This is why the Stoics trained themselves differently. They didn't wait for chaos to happen before preparing their minds. They trained for it in advance. They built inner stability, so that when life became unstable, they remained steady. Because real power is not controlling the situation. Real power is controlling yourself within the situation. Imagine two people facing the same problem. One panics. The other stays calm. One reacts emotionally. The other thinks clearly. One makes the situation worse. The other finds a way through it. Same problem. Different mindset. Different outcome. That is the power of mental training. Because your mind can either be your greatest weapon or your biggest weakness. And most people never train it. They train their bodies. They chase money. They build skills. But they ignore the one thing that controls everything. Their mind. So when pressure comes, they are not ready. They break easily. They get overwhelmed. They lose direction. But you don't have to live like that. You can train your mind to stay calm, even when everything around you is not. And it starts with one simple understanding. You don't control what happens, but you always control how you respond. Always. There is always a gap between what happens and how you react. And in that gap, that is where your power lies. But most people never use it, because they react instantly, without thinking, without pausing, without awareness. They let emotions take control. And emotions are not always reliable. Anger pushes you to speak without thinking. Fear pushes you to avoid instead of act. Stress pushes you to panic instead of plan. And when you follow those emotions blindly, you lose control of your life. This is why calmness is a skill. It is something you build, something you practice, something you earn over time, not something you magically have. So how do you build it? You start by slowing down your reactions. When something happens, pause. Just for a moment. Don't speak immediately. Don't react immediately. Don't make a decision immediately. Pause. Take a breath. Create space. Because that space is where clarity enters. That space is where logic returns. That space is where you regain control. And in that moment, you ask yourself, what is the best response here? Not the fastest response. Not the emotional response. but the best response? That question alone can change everything. Because instead of reacting, you begin to respond. And there is a difference. Reaction is automatic. Response is intentional. Reaction is emotional. Response is controlled. Reaction creates problems. Response solves them. This is the discipline of a calm mind. And the more you practice it, the stronger you become. But there is another level to this. A deeper level. You don't just train yourself to react better. You train yourself to expect challenges. Because one of the biggest reasons people panic is because they are surprised by difficulty. They expect life to be smooth. They expect things to go according to plan. So when something goes wrong, it feels like something is broken. But what if nothing is broken? What if this is just part of life? When you start expecting challenges, you stop being shocked by them. You stop seeing them as interruptions and start seeing them as part of the process. And that shift changes your emotional state. Because now, when something goes wrong, you don't panic. You adjust. You adapt. You move forward. That is calmness. Not the absence of problems, but the ability to remain steady within them. And over time, this becomes your default. You become the person people look at and wonder, how are you so calm? How are you not stressed? How are you handling this so well? And the answer is simple. You trained for it. While others were reacting, you were learning control. While others were complaining, you were building discipline. While others were avoiding discomfort, you were strengthening your mind. And now, when chaos comes, you don't break. You don't panic. You don't lose yourself. You stay grounded, focused, clear. And that gives you an advantage most people don't have. Because in a world full of emotional reactions, calmness stands out. Calmness wins. Calmness leads. So from today, start small. You don't need a perfect situation to practice this. You can start anywhere. Someone annoys you. Pause. Something doesn't go your way. Pause. You feel anger rising. Pause. Train yourself to create space before reaction. Train yourself to think before speaking. Train yourself to stay steady when emotions try to take over. It won't be perfect at first. You will still react sometimes. You will still lose control occasionally. But that's part of the process. The goal is not perfection. The goal is progress. Because every time you choose calmness over chaos, you are strengthening your mind. And over time, that strength becomes unshakable. And when your mind becomes unshakable, life loses its power to control you. Rule 4. Remember, nothing lasts forever. Look at your life for a moment. Everything you are experiencing right now, the stress, the pressure, the uncertainty, the progress, the happiness, the struggles, all of it feels real. All of it feels important. All of it feels like it will last. But it won't. And that is not something to fear. That is something to understand. Because one of the biggest reasons people lose their peace is because they treat temporary things as if they are permanent. They believe this pain will never end. They believe this situation will last forever. They believe this moment defines their entire life. And because of that belief, they panic. They overreact. They lose hope. But the truth is simple. Nothing lasts forever. Not your problems. Not your struggles. Not your fears. Not even your successes. Everything is temporary. Everything is moving. Everything is changing. And once you truly understand this, you begin to see life differently. Because now, when something goes wrong, you don't fall apart. You remind yourself, this will pass, not as motivation, but as truth. You've been through difficult moments before, moments that felt heavy, moments that felt endless, moments that made you question everything. But where are those moments now? They passed. You survived them. You moved forward. Life continued. And the same thing will happen again. This current situation will also pass. So why destroy your peace over something that is temporary? Why lose sleep over something that time will eventually resolve? Why allow a moment to control your entire state of mind? This is where wisdom begins. When you stop reacting to life as if everything is permanent, and start responding with the awareness that everything is temporary. Because this awareness creates emotional balance. When bad things happen, you don't feel like it's the end of the world. And when good things happen, you don't become overly attached. You stay grounded, centered, stable. That is peace. But there is another side to this truth. A deeper side. Because it's not just your problems that are temporary. Your time is temporary too. Your life is temporary. And most people don't like thinking about this. They avoid it. They distract themselves from it. But the Stoics faced it directly. Not to become fearful, but to become intentional. Because when you truly understand that your time is limited, you start living differently. You stop wasting energy on meaningless things. You stop holding on to unnecessary anger. You stop delaying the life you want to live. You stop saying, one day, and you start saying, now. Because you realize something powerful. You don't have forever. And that realization sharpens your focus. It makes you value your time. It makes you appreciate your moments. It makes you more present. Instead of living in your head, worrying about the future, or replaying the past, you come back to the present. Because that's all you truly have. This moment. Right now. And when you start living like this, peace becomes natural. Because you are no longer stuck in what was, or what might be. You are here, fully present, fully aware, fully alive. And in that state, there is no anxiety. There is no regret. There is no fear. There is only clarity. But let's go even deeper. Because this rule doesn't just help you handle pain. It also changes how you handle success. Most people become attached to good moments. They want them to last forever. They try to hold on to them. They fear losing them. And in that fear, they lose their peace. But when you understand that even good moments are temporary, you experience them differently. You enjoy them more. You appreciate them more. But you don't cling to them. You don't depend on them. You don't build your identity around them. You simply experience them and let them pass. Just like everything else. This is emotional freedom. Because now, you are not controlled by loss. And you are not controlled by gain. You are steady in both. And that is rare. Because most people are like waves. Up and down. Happy and sad. Excited and broken. based on what is happening around them. But you become like the ocean, deep, calm, unshaken on the surface, no matter what waves come and go. That is what this rule builds in you: depth, stability, peace. So from today, remind yourself of this truth constantly. When things are hard, this will pass. When things are good, this will pass. Not to make life meaningless, but to make it meaningful. Because when you know something won't last forever, you stop taking it for granted. You stop wasting it. You start living it fully. And that is the real purpose of this rule. Not to make you detached from life, but to make you more connected to it, more present, more aware, more alive. Because in the end, peace is not found in trying to hold on to life. It is found in learning how to move with it, to accept it, to experience it, without resistance, without fear, without attachment. And when you reach that point, you don't just understand peace, you live it. If you've listened to this point, then something inside you already knows the truth. Peace is not something outside of you. It's not in money. It's not in people. It's not in everything going perfectly. Because if that were true, then the people who have everything would always be at peace. But they're not. And you've seen that. You've seen people with success, still anxious. People with money, still restless. People with attention, still empty. So clearly, peace is not found in what you have. It is found in how you live. And now you understand how. You control what you can. And you let go of what you can't. You stop fighting reality. And you start flowing with it. You expect nothing. And you appreciate everything. You stop placing emotional pressure on life. And you start finding value in what already exists. You train your mind to stay calm in chaos, so that no situation has the power to control you. And you remind yourself that nothing lasts forever. So you stop holding on too tightly, and start living more freely. These are not just ideas. These are principles. And if you truly apply them, your life will change. Not because your problems disappear, but because you become stronger than them. You become steady. You become clear. You become someone who is not easily shaken by life. And that is rare, because most people are controlled by everything around them. Controlled by opinions. Controlled by emotions. Controlled by outcomes. Controlled by fear. But you don't have to live like that. You can be different. You can be the one who stays calm when others panic. The one who stays focused when others get distracted. The one who remains at peace, even when life is not. But understand this clearly. This is not something that happens overnight. This is a practice, a daily discipline, a way of thinking you build over time. Some days will be harder than others. Some days you will forget these principles. Some days you will react, overthink, lose control. And that's okay. Because growth is not perfection. Growth is awareness. Growth is catching yourself and choosing better next time. And every time you do that, you are building something powerful inside you. A mind that is not easily disturbed. A life that is not easily shaken. A peace that is not easily broken. And over time, that becomes who you are. Not something you try to be, but something you naturally become. And when that happens, you stop chasing peace. You stop searching for it. Because you realize something powerful. Peace was never out there. It was always within you, waiting for you to take control of your mind. So don't just listen to this. Don't just agree with it. Apply it. Live it. Practice it daily. Because information alone does nothing. But applied wisdom changes everything. And if this message opened your eyes in any way, if it made you think differently, if it made you feel something real, then don't stop here. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Because this is where you come to sharpen your mind, strengthen your discipline, and build a version of yourself that is calm, focused, and in control. You don't need more noise. You need clarity. You need direction. You need